Welcome to today's new quiz. Let's play. Would you draw this? A flower. Would you paint this? A sunset. Would you sketch this? A mountain. Would you sculpt this? A bird. Would you illustrate this? A cityscape. Would you design this? A poster. Would you capture this? A portrait. Would you frame this? A landscape. Would you color this? A rainbow. Would you draw this with charcoal? A tree. Would you paint this with watercolors? A river. Would you create this with clay? A vase. Would you design this digitally? A logo. Would you illustrate this with markers? A comic strip. Would you carve this? A statue. Would you craft this? A mask. Would you ink this? A tattoo. Would you engrave this? A pattern. Would you paint this with oil paints? A seascape. Would you sketch this with pencils? A face. Would you paint this with acrylics? A forest. Would you create this with fabric? A tapestry. Would you draw this in pen? A skyline. Would you design this with typography? cover. Would you compose this visually? A collage. Would you create this with pastels? A desert. Would you paint this with spray paint? A mural. Would you draw this with ink? A silhouette. Would you mold this? A bust. Would you paint this with gouache? A lake. Would you sketch this with chalk? A street scene. Would you design this in 3D? A model. Would you create this with beads? A necklace. Would you paint this on canvas? A night sky. Would you draw this with colored pencils? A butterfly. Would you paint this with a palette knife? A mountain range. Would you create this with metal? A sculpture. Would you illustrate this with digital tools? A fantasy scene. Would you paint this on a wall? A graffiti. Would you draw this in a sketchbook? A hand. Would you create this with paper? A collage. Would you paint this with a sponge? A background. Would you carve this from wood? A figurine. Would you draw this from imagination? A dragon. Would you paint this with your fingers? A sunset sky. Would you design this with a pen tablet? A digital painting. Would you create this with wire? Invention. Would you eat this? Big burger.